Good morning and welcome to When Pigs Fly. I'm Patty. I am joined by Renee and Tracy. Good morning, ladies.
Morning.
So today we are going to keep going on this discussion of abundance. We have an abundance of information coming your way. How about that? So where we last left off, we were talking about kind of abundance 101 and what is abundance. And we were trying to kind of stretch your imagination a little, if you will, and to have a different perspective and stop tying it to one thing, such as money. And then we really want to talk about how to stay out of lack and what things can you do to pivot from a lack mindset? What steps do you take? And one thing that came to mind in our little sidebar that we had was language. What language do you use around money? Do you judge people with money? Right? Do you say these either money's the root of all evil? Well, if you do that, you're shutting down you're putting up a resistance energy against money. And so, but look at your language around anything, any type of thing that says that's too hard, or I can only do that if and when. These are two big things. When you start get into the timing and not saying I can't start now, you can begin where you are right now and feeling an abundant energy. And I think Renee, you shared a cool piece while we were on the break. I'm going to let you jump in here.
What piece was that? I don't remember that piece.
How quickly we forgot. Well, we were talking about the role that we play and how we are energetically going from this feeling small and thinking that I'm generating this abundance by myself into higher consciousness where we are all creating abundance collectively. It's a collective energy, the energy of one that we talk about. And so that was, you were talking about energetically what happens when we all, our goal is, and where your abundance connection is in that higher realm of consciousness. And it's when you look at somebody, for example, that has money saying, yay, they benefited all of us
No.
because they're creating more abundant energy. And instead of judging it, you can say, oh, good, I want more of that.
Yeah,
So that'll get,
exactly. Yeah, good. Thank you, Betty. See, they give me the stuff and then it's just gone. So thank you for the recap. And it is like we have to start to recognize that every aspect of us is connected into the true oneness. Okay, whatever you want to call that oneness, you want to call it God, the angel, spirit, whatever the heck it is. There's this beautiful energetic field of oneness that is a natural flow. It flows in through the entire world. And it's not just the world, it's going all through the planets, through the stars, through every aspect. That is literally this like whoosh. It always looks like it's always like flowing, like picture like this beautiful waterfall. Okay, so it's flowing through us. And what happens is it's like throwing, the more you're using your language or your thoughts of, oh, I don't have enough, I can't live off of this X amount of dollars, or I can't do this. Oh, I'd love to do that, but I don't have the money. When we're saying all those type of things, or I can't get in a nice relationship. Oh, why is everything so much shit? Why is my life always hard? All of those things, be aware of what you're doing. What you're doing is taking sticks and throwing them into that waterfall. So
yeah.
you're going to create a dam. That dam is going to block up that energy flow. When that energy is not flowing, you are going to continue to bring more of that crap to you, and it's going to continue to build up, build up, build up, build up. That's where you're going to get aches and pains. That's where you possibly will get a sickness, because your body and your soul is talking to the body, okay, and it's telling that whole system, hey, for abundance, everything that you possibly need, you have. You just got stuck. You're looking this way instead of looking like this. You've closed off that vision, so it's all you can see. So if you're recognizing and you're saying, oh my God, these people are so mean, or I'm seeing this out in the world, I'm seeing this hatred and everything's falling apart, and da, da, da. Things are falling apart, but in a very good, positive way. But if you want to see the negative aspects, if you see the negative aspects of life, that's what you're going to see. And that's what's going to be felt within and throughout your entire system. So you have to start to recognize and know, when am I in this, what I will just refer to as the lack, when I'm into lack, when I'm into fear, when I'm into all of this stuff so that I can now shift. And this is going to sound really easy and crazy, but this is what I used to do. I used to say, I ask my being, B-E-I-N-G, like every aspect of you. I ask my being to get in my hand. Doesn't matter what hand, okay? Ask me when you get my hand. And I said, okay, we're going to move over now. And I would literally lift my hand up and I'd move over and I put down, I'm like, okay, there you go. And I would feel it in my system because I was pulling myself out of this, whatever, fear, whatever. I didn't know what it was because sometimes we can't place a thing on it. But I would lift it up and I'd over and I'd be like, okay, there we are. Like, okay, we're good. And you'll feel it in your body. And I used this with clients for a long time. And they said, I can't believe when I'm in that field and I can't think or I can't feel what is the opposite or how am I going to get out of this? They said they'll stop, they take a deep breath in because that centers you and they move over. If you, and some people are like, well, what am I moving over into? And I'm like, the opposite of what you are.
Your
Now,
soul
let's
knows.
look at it. Yeah. I'm like, now if you want to say something, she's like, well, I got to say something. Okay. Now in today's energy, you want to say it? I'm moving into the oneness. Because every single thing that you do is not just for you. You are connected to everyone and everything around the world, everything. So everything that you're doing, you're feeding everybody else. You're changing you, you're changing the world. Everybody around the world that is changing is affecting you as well in a very positive way. I don't want you going into the negative aspect because people are so good at doing that. No, every time you start to go into a negative, stop yourself. Say, wait a minute. Nope, I'm going to breathe and I'm going to get out of this. I'm going to remember I am a piece and a part of the oneness. I am oneness. And stop saying you can't make a living on the money that you're making, or, I can't get a good relationship, or when is this relationship coming to me? When you're saying, when's the relationship coming to me? You've just said, I'm going to push back.
Yeah.
Or, how many people say to me, and you probably get the same thing. Oh, I can feel it. It's coming. It's right here. I can feel it. I'm like, okay, so why isn't it here? Well, no, because it's coming. Okay, guess what you just did? You just created it coming because you got to bring it into the now. And Patty said that on the last one, bring it in the now. If you're
It's
not
here.
in that now, it's not going. You're saying, okay, look, hold off. I can't receive it yet. And if you're looking backwards, if you're letting your yesterdays take up today, that's the wrong thing because that whole yesterday doesn't matter. It's done. It's over with. Look at today. If you're, I got to heal it because this and this and this happened when I was a child. Who gives a shit? Okay, are you there? Are you that age right now? No, you're right here, right now.
Yeah. Because you tuned back into the shit channel when you did that.
Yeah.
You just turned your dial from the abundance channel back to the shit channel when you said but,
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's what people do. They do these butts. And you know how many times I've heard, oh, but I can't make a living on what I do. Okay, but guess what? You just bought a new car. So your old car was okay. So, but now they're going to the employer, and this is probably where you can come in, Trace. I mean, you come into a lot of things, but now it's like, okay, well, I need a raise because I can't live on what you're paying me. How about you do this, this, and this? It's like, wait a minute, hold up. Like, how about that abundant life? Like, no, I have
You
more
went,
than enough.
yeah. Two things just happened there, and we're just going to throw it to Tracy. One, you disconnected. You disconnected from your source when you did that. I call it a crimp in the hose. The hose can be running on full blast, and then a negative thought is you go and now put a knot in it. The abundance is still trying to come in, but you're holding this freaking knot in the hose. And if you want to get it flowing again, you got to let it go, and it's awareness. You start with the awareness and, but when you disconnect, that's when, and you got to go internally. It's
Yes.
it's your, it's your choice. It's where you plug it in. So Tracy, let's hear it. Oh,
Oh, you're on mute.
she
You're
was,
on mute.
she was,
I got
giving us
bumped
the
once.
quiet version.
Hopefully we can, I don't know. We've been great all morning. I don't know what's going on with my internet. Okay, so if I get bumped again, I guess you're not meant to hear what I have to say, but we spoke of this earlier about everyone needs to take personal responsibility. And it's interesting because I spoke to this before we got on air, how I feel this energy of people, of them wanting to put their livelihood, it's like it's my responsibility, and I speak a lot about to employees and even kids, and really I just put up, a loving presence, of course, but of putting the responsibility back on them. Because at the end of the day, we're only and all responsible for ourselves. right? And I really feel like this energy is strong right now of people sensing that they need to take responsibility and trying to deflect it off on anyone else. Yeah, but you need, and oh my gosh, it's so funny because I love little parallels in life. So we have a restaurant, obviously, and it's funny how my daughters work in them. Well, they said that this is how we do it. I'm always like, well, who's they? And no one can define who this elusive they is that made that rule, right? And then it's funny with my daughters, I'm like, at the end of the day, since dad and I own it, we're the they that gets to make the parameters of how we operate. But it goes back to we're operating on this manual that they created. And I don't know if anyone really knows who that they is. Well, this is how we do it. But this, and I need this, and because of this, and that, right? And to really wrap our heads around throwing all that out as much as we can, back to personal responsibility. And I'm kind of really tying into Renee. So many people that I've seen have made choices. And yes, you did make the choice to live in that house and have that car and have that cell phone bill and have your Starbucks habit. Your choice is not my problem. Lovingly and respectfully, because of course I'm the one that everyone wants to raise and a bigger salary, and right. And it's where I think we're coming up against that energy, and it's good. I think it's really good that everyone needs to start looking at that. Well, what choice did you make, and do you have to pivot? Because I'm going to loop back around to the abundance. Have we intentionally set ourselves up to not even be in alignment with abundance because of all of the this, that, but I got it, but I have to, but this happened to me, and it's your responsibility to make sure, right? Every single time you are taking yourself out of an alignment with that abundance. So the hard look in the mirror, right? Pivot, make a choice. Do you need that? Do you really need that? Is that really true? Is that really how it works? So a lot of good, juicy self-reflections to be had.
Yeah, and when you're doing that, when you're buying the car or the Starbucks or the whatever, instead of saying, oh, well, I'm gonna have to go for a raise or whatever, or I can't really afford this without X, Y, and Z. No, there's always an abundance. There's always, my husband is awesome at saying like something will hit, and he'll be like, so what? Because sometimes I'll go into it like, oh my God, like, and he'll be like, so what? I'll just make more money. What's the big deal? Like, money's flowing. I'm like, oh yeah. So, but things will pull us out. And I'm not saying, to my point, like, and everything that we're saying, I'm not saying like, life is, falling apart or whatever, however you want to perceive that. Things are happening. I'm not saying ignore it and just continue to do this. I get, pulled into shit all the time. And sometimes I buy into it, and then other times I don't. But I'm lucky enough to have my family around me that will catch me, and they'll throw my words at me, which doesn't always make me happy. But they throw it. But it's that other aspect of when, Tracy was saying, like, everybody taking their personal responsibility. We've sort of gotten out of that aspect in the they. Everybody's going into this thing. Well, they said. How about, this looping right back into what you said, Tracy, how about you now saying, you know what, they said that, but I know a better way that this can work. Or I know a way that this can work for me, because I'm now thinking in abundance, because all my needs are met. Thank you. And you're going into that aspect. And from that, the healers were saying, there is this energetic connection that we all have. Okay, that's the energetic piece. What a lot of us humans don't understand is we are also connecting in to the physical form of people. Oh, I love my husband, I love my daughter, I love my kids. And what you're doing is you're connecting in from a human perspective into their energy field. It's two totally different things. We have to disconnect from all the human connections. So when you're saying disconnect, you are not disconnecting from the oneness of how we're all connected. You are disconnecting from the human element, which says, I'm no longer putting my human forms into you, and you're no longer putting the human forms into me. And when I used to say to people, okay, you need to disconnect from your kids, you disconnect from them, they're like, oh my God, no, they're my kids. I can't, nope, that's my husband. Like, I don't want to lose them. You're not going to lose them. You're disconnecting the limitations and the fears that that person has. Because when we're connected that way, we are both feeding each other our fears, our worries, our concerns. We have to take responsibility and say, I'm responsible for me.
Yeah,
And
it's
me in that,
energetic. Yeah.
yeah, and that big oneness. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, I was just going to say, Renee, what you're describing is energetic entanglement.
Yes.
That it's not even your shit. It's not even your shit. And the only way that you can connect into the abundance is to recognize that entanglement. And instead, you can just ponder, say, oh, wait, if I'm a channel for abundance, they too are their own channel for abundance. And then, and looking at from a standpoint of as when you're being whole and tapped into that oneness, that's when co-creation can happen. And right, and co-creation and collaboration, but understanding that and not thinking that someone else isn't capable. That's the other thing we do. We judge and go, oh no, but they can't do it without me. That's a lie. We're all abundant. And it's like, you tap into your own abundance, and absolutely,
And if
I
you
just
think
wanted
they
to.
can't do it, yeah, sorry, if you think they can't do it without you, then guess what? You're holding them back. You're not allowing them to experience what they are here to experience. Everybody has to stand up on their own 2 feet, take responsibility, and to look and to feel. And I can already hear like people like say, well, I don't even know how to, think of abundance. I don't know how to do that. Okay, well, you now know you're connected into the oneness. There's a oneness abundance there. So now connect in to, if you see somebody and you're like, oh my God, they've got so much money. And I always hear about the Kardashians. There's so much jealousy and everything around the Kardashians. They've done nothing. Listen, this is their experience. They are showing people a whole new way of living. Okay, so look, instead of looking at that with jealousy, look at that as like, okay, let me connect into that abundance. You're not connected into them, you're connected into the universal abundance. If you can't feel it or you can't see it, watch something. There's a great show on TV of my dream house, my lottery dream house or something. And the guy goes around and people win the lotteries. And I've heard people say, oh my God, can you believe that they did it and they're not doing it? Why are you judging that? You now are in lack. You are now disconnected and you're into that thing. Instead, watch that show like, okay, when I'm in that field, and it's not that you're winning the lottery. Do not ever tell the universe how this money, how this love, how this relation, how anything is coming to you. You focus in on the feeling, that
Yep.
emotional feel of having that now.
Yeah.
That's the only time I've
done.
ever seen the mind, all energies work together to have it in that now.
It's done.
Can I bring up something? Because
Yeah.
I think this is where some people might go astray. The Kardashians, as soon as you said that, I'm like, oh God, why would anyone want to align with that? You know what I mean? That's my own personal, because if you say, I want what they have, you have no idea what their life looks like. Their life could be full of despair and disaster and loneliness and fakeness. And I don't know, because I don't honestly know enough about them, but I see people doing that. I want that. And I'm like, wait, what do you want? Because sorry, but I believe it to be true. We are living in a life of false premise bullshit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Well, you
agree.
know what it is, what you're talking about, Tracy, is comparison.
Yeah.
You cannot compare yourself to somebody
Oh,
else.
but no,
And if you're
beyond that.
yeah, and if you're judging though, if you're judging that wealth, it's saying, okay, but wait, how are you defining wealth? Like you're right, like you don't know, are they happy? But I think what we were saying here is don't judge that and say, oh, they have these big, beautiful homes and they have these, right? And if you get into that energetic of judging that as being bad, you can cut off your own wealth. But there's a bigger picture in that. And that's like, what do you really want? Like, do you want to manage a mansion and do you want to manage, or what exactly it gets down to? What would fulfill you? What is your personal definition of wealth in an abundant space?
And I'm saying connect into the energy of it, not what they have, the energy
Right.
aspect, because if you're seeing that and you're like, oh my God, they have it all.
Yeah.
And
It's
okay,
unattainable. If
they're
you
connected
think,
they're connected into this abundant energy and this natural flow. So connect into that. Don't, look them, connect into that within the universe, within the oneness. And if you want to see that up or down, just, or for yourself. Okay, look, hey, I'm coming from here and I'm going to connect right into that beautiful, abundant energy, those loving relationships, whatever, and actually start to really truthfully feel that in that now. But again, which goes back into the last session, go back into what is it you really want? Is it really the abundance? Is it really the money? Is it really
Yeah.
that big mansion? Because exactly what you said. Do you want to deal with all that stuff? Do you want, and some people will say, yeah, because then I'll have a cook and I'll have a whatever, and they'll think, okay, good. But are you going to feel fulfilled? Come back into you. What's going to fulfill you? That you have that peace, that calm, that joy, that fun, whatever it is you're looking for. So it's really about self-awareness and bringing that aspect in. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. And when I'm coaching people, I don't guide them to material things because I think it's the fastest way to tank yourself. With your brain gets into, how are you going to get it? How much does that cost? What does it cost to maintain it? La, 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 la. And instead, what you're really after is a state of being. It's that you want that safety, and you want that security, and you want peace. And so literally that's your energetic focus. Peace, gratitude is abundance. Peace is abundance. Love is abundance. Those are all states of being that bring you abundance. But when you get into the lack, how am I going to get it? When's it going to come? What does it look like? And then anything that you desire comes from your soul. Those are things that you chose. This is the experience, how I want to express myself. And so, Tracy, sorry, I think I jumped in on you. I know you have more on this.
Well, what I was trying to say is if you say, I want that, and that person is miserable and depressed, even though they're rich, be careful. I'm not discounting. Everyone should have access to whatever they want materialistically and abundantly. What I was saying is be mindful, because you don't know. You're saying, I want that, meaning the riches, and the universe is like, oh, you want to be miserable and depressed? Okay, I'll give you that. So I think you kind of missed what my point was to be mindful. I think it's great to ask to be rich. I don't see any downsides in that at all. I'm saying when you say, I want it from someone else, you don't know what's behind the scenes, because if you're asking for it, watch out what you might get, because you just asked for that,
Yeah.
maybe perhaps unknowingly.
Yeah. And the opposite can be true too. You may see people like living a peaceful existence in a beautiful area where they can cultivate all their own needs from the land, and they don't have a big house and a fancy car, but they feel completely fulfilled and they are rich in their own right. And that's also abundance.
Right, exactly. And not only that, the whole energetic field of this beautiful happiness, what you have to also remember is as you're doing things within your confines, again, we're bringing you back into the mindfulness of you. Like, what are you feeling inside? What is it you're really looking for? What's the language I'm using? Catching yourself and asking for the assistance. Please help me, or assist me, however you want to say it. No right words, no wrong words. Help me, assist me in catching when I'm in a limited, or when I'm in lack, when I'm in fear, energy. Because you'll be amazed. Obviously, you'll say something like, oh my God, like I didn't realize I say that. Or at the end of the day, review your day and see where you were feeling that lack, or feeling fear, or whatever it was. And just at that point, you can just say, okay, I cancel and replace it with the opposite. Or there's so many things. I'm just giving you a little piece of that aspect, but starting to really recognize and know what it is I do truly want in my life. And if it is, you want this big house, this big whatever, be very mindful of your words have to match that, your feelings have to match that, and it has to be in the now.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you're going to be going into lack. And trust me, when I say people around you, not everybody's going to be happy for you as you start to move up that ladder. And you have to be okay. That's why the more you're coming into you, the more you're aware with your feelings, and somebody is starting to attack you, and because they're jealous, you have to stand strong in you and be like, okay, you know what, that's their thing. I'm not letting that get to me, because I've seen a lot of people go down that road and just all of a sudden drop it because, well, now I'm not accepted by the group that I've always been in. Right? It's the whole fear thing. Go ahead, Patty.
I'm agreeing with you. Yeah. You won't get any cheerleaders when you step up and say, this is possible, especially if you're already surrounded by other lack energy.
Mhm.
so, and that's where you do. And I can tell you, I've seen people, and so have you, Renee, come out of complete lack and into thriving completely, and just by shifting their own. You've got to get into a state of being of, say, for example, you don't like where you live. Okay, then picture and go with something that isn't going to fight you. Picture something, okay, how am I going to feel when okay, I'm going to have like lots of windows so I can feel the sunlight on my face. And that's the state of being that you want to connect to. That's the abundant energy there, not the how much is the mortgage going to be, because now you're back in the lack and that energy, you're crimping your hose again. And again, and just focus on what you have, and know what? You must love where you're at right now. Fall in love with with your house. Fall in love with everything, your bed, fall in love with all your clothing and say, I love you, I love you, I love you. And just because you're interjecting, you're putting yourself into the state of being of the energy that you're creating. What are you creating in the moment? And if you want more, you can't look down on what you have now. You love it to death. And I love this. I love this. And because now you're creating that energy that you want to carry it through. If you don't shift the energy, this is what happens to people who win the lottery and then lose everything. They never change their energy. They got a windfall, but they're still in that lack mindset, and so they didn't make the shift. And I wish, like, gosh, if anybody wins the lottery, I wish they would listen to this and say, okay, now I have a great opportunity to shift, and don't do anything with the money until you shift your energy, because then you can play. You can play and make it, fun. Focus on what you have and be eternally grateful for. Be grateful and happy now. And whatever it is that you want, it's done, because it does already exist on that energetic field. And how we consciously create it into physical existence is by holding that state, quite literally, staying in vibration, staying in resonance with it.
Mhm. Yeah, like Tracy said, Tracy, I don't know if you said this on or off camera, where you never did things in look of money. It was what your heart felt or whatever, right? Like, can you go into that a little?
Yeah, basically, I mean, because I'm kind of a simple girl, I like nice things and I'm grateful for all the wealth in my life, but I've just never been motivated by stuff. Which, we all have our set points, our mindset, and I'm grateful for that. I don't really care about stuff. But it's nice for me because most things I do it for passion and creativity, not to own things or have things, or I couldn't even tell you a designer of anything because it does, and I'm not, that's fine. If you love fancy brand name things, that's great for you. But I'm just saying, I think that has been very beneficial for me. That might come from is creation and passion and joy of life, not what can I buy, what can I have. So it's worked for me. I'm sure other people want to be rich and own a bunch of stuff, and perhaps it does work for them on some level. I would argue that there's probably a lack there of some sort of fulfillment because, I'm not sure that whole can ever be fulfilled if you're just trying to accumulate wealth and material things. But I'm just sharing that unbeknownst, what's the word?
Beknownst.
Unbeknownst to me, that has been an amazing thing for me to build riches in my life. And I'm not speaking all financial. I have an awesome life full of things that I can have fun with and have joy with, because that was my come from. Passion, creativity.
I love that. And again, pay attention to the language you're speaking, what's happening. And I certainly know, people that, have loads and loads and loads of money that are so happy. But my thing with all of them are always, and I always say to my husband, like, oh my God, they're just so down to earth. Because they have that true gratitude, and you can see that they do things out of joy. What brings them joy? And the more you're doing things out of what brings you happiness, you're not only feeding your own energy field, you're feeding that whole energy of the world. And we're going to make a whole conscious shift within the whole world where people just start to recognize and know that, okay, we're feeling and being our genuine selves. This is what makes me happy. It's okay to step out of what everybody else did and what all that they said that they were, because now we can do things differently. All the old ways, and we've said this, a million times, or the old ways are done. That's not the way things are going anymore. It's not the way things are. Pay attention to the language that you're speaking, what you're feeling, what you're thinking. What do you think when you go to bed? Are you intellect? Are you looking forward? Are you looking behind? Like this abundance of the sheets, like Tracy, when you said last time, like, oh my God, these sheets are so awesome. And I've had that too, where it's like, oh, I just couldn't wait to get to bed because the sheets were so freaking awesome. And having, like, being in that place of gratitude and building off of that, and just like, okay, I want more of this. I feel that peace and that joy that happened, whatever it is. But get into your knowing. What is it for you? Don't compare. Don't listen to your friends, what they say it is or what they tell you you are. You listen
Yeah.
to you, and that will set you free.
And their desires are different and they have a different journey than you.
Mhm.
And it doesn't mean that, like we said, it doesn't mean they have to disappear and fall out of your universe. It means that you must do you, and it's inside work and staying in alignment with what feels good to you. And if you're not sure where to start, write a list of your passions. I'm passionate about. And when you're pursuing a passion, there is no big or small. That's really important too. Like if you say, oh, like I'm passionate about skiing, but I can't afford to go to Aspen right now. Now you crimped your thing. But if you could be passionate about, like, I love painting and I go to sip and paint, and I paint at home, and it could be a little thing like that. That the energy of fulfilling yourself with the joy is the energy you want to tap into. And it costs zero. You can find that in your life daily. It costs zero. So, any closing comments? We zipped through 30 minutes really fast here.
I
Yeah,
just
I
want
want
to
to throw.
say, hold on one second. I just want to say, baby steps make a giant leap. Go ahead, Trace.
Well, I'm going to throw a curveball in because in the energy world, the whole definition of money might change within the next couple of years. So if you are desiring money, what if money went away? Now, what happened to that desire? That's a curveball, I know, but it's been coming in strong for me. No, what do you really desire? It's not a dollar bill. Like Renee said, a dollar bill smells, it's filthy, and no one wants a pile of dollar bills in their house. They only want what a dollar bill can buy for them. So interesting to think about. What if money
Yeah.
goes away?
Yeah.
Well,
Well, you have to shift to value exchange.
Yeah.
When you pay your bill, your value, right? It's a value exchange, and that's how you can start to, bridge that gap. But yeah, and great thing to think about. Love it. Well, thank you, ladies, for another great episode. And if you like what you're hearing, please hit that like and subscribe button. And we love all of your comments. Thank you so much. Your feedback and your comments is what is helping us to cultivate the information that we are gabbing about here today. So thank you, ladies, and I will see you next episode.